If you're new to our channel, we'd love to have you join our little community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We promise it will be worth your while.
David lay back against the park bench. He was exhausted and confused. He was also developing a bright red, angry rash on his neck as a result of taking on board some of Emily's illness. This wouldn't become a problem, as he would just pass the foreign cells in a few hours. The rash is just an allergic response. Sunshine is a wonderful thing, and as it warmed my fur, I quickly started to recover, whilst David snored away beside me, my peace only being interrupted by a yappy little dog with delusions of being a Great Dane. "Go away, little dog, before you annoy me." "Yap, yap, yap, yap," continued the small, hairy, rat-like creature. "Yawn, this is getting boring," I thought to myself as I meowed. The little dog yelped one last time and ran away onto the bowling green. Although I had just meowed like a cat, the projected image the dog had received was of a large and angry lion roaring. I then snuggled back against David and started to doze once more. After some time, David woke and got up from his seat. I noticed as I arched my back and stretched that his rash was already fading. Good. Next mission is some healthy food and more rest. I needed to clean David up both inside and out, as he would be needing a clean and healthy mind and body over the next few months. I really hated David begging for money, but until I could get him employment or into more suitable accommodation, it was the only way of feeding the both of us. David went into the local supermarket as I waited outside, sunning myself. When he returned with his carrier bag of food, we walked together back towards his squat. I was happy that he had now accepted me as his pet, and he seemed to appreciate my company. I needed him to have a clearer mind before I introduced myself to him, though. Back at the squat, David stored his groceries in his room and went downstairs to try and find a vacuum cleaner after implanting the suggestion in his head. A little naughty, I know, but his room was filthy and my nose is close to the floor now, and really sensitive to dust. After David had cleaned his room and dusted, he went downstairs with his food and grilled himself 2 cheap chops. I then wondered what he was going to give me to eat. Kitty chunks, I thought, as he produced a saucer with meaty cubes covered in gravy, but surprisingly, they actually tasted a lot better than they looked. I ate my food from a bowl on the lino, whilst David sat at the table and ate his chops. Once finished, I hopped up onto the table and sat watching him, whilst absent-mindedly cleaning my paws with my tongue. Ugh. David looked at me quizzically. Sometimes, cat, just sometimes I could swear that you understand every word I say. Meow, I reply. Later that evening, a fight breaks out downstairs between 2 of the squatter's more volatile occupants, and the police are called by concerned neighbors because of the noise. Several of the occupants of the squat are arrested. David is unaware of this, as I'd placed him in a deep sleep. I'd also charmed his bedroom door so that the police, storming around the squat, only saw a continuous wall of wallpaper on the landing outside his room. The very next morning, I decided that David needed to move somewhere quieter and more suitable for his convalescence, and I needed somewhere where my nerves wouldn't be in tatters at the end of the night, and I knew of just the place. At breakfast, as David was tucking into boiled eggs, I suggested to his subconscious mind that he should start to look for somewhere more suitable to live. You know something, Kat? I think that now I have a pet, I should start and look for somewhere else to live, possibly find vacant premises down by the river. What do you think? I brushed myself against his jeans leg and purred contentedly. Ha! Look at me, I must be losing my marbles talking to a cat. Sheesh, as if he understands me. I'm a she idiot, some doctor you would have made. I wonder what I should call you. Not Garfield, please, not Garfield. I know Garfield, I'll call you Garfield. Sigh. As we walked together heading down towards the river, with Daniel carrying all of his worldly possessions in 3 tatty old carrier bags and a rucksack. I wonder if he's even aware that he has been heroin-free for just under a day. I am hoping that I won't have to suppress his withdrawal for too much longer, as the concentration required really tires me out. After a little while, we stopped by a row of individual little cottages by a small river in a secluded and heavily wooded Dean area, only 5 minutes from the local shops. I hop onto the wall of the leftmost cottage and drop into the garden. Daniel follows. I can see by his expression that he's not impressed by what he sees. but as he will come to learn in time that eyes can easily be deceived. I start to nudge the flower pot by the front door with my paw and nose until I expose a door key, and then mention to my home that David is now welcome. Magical burglar alarms are a lot more proactive than the conventional type, and I really did not want David running from his new home screaming in terror on his first visit. As we entered, I could hear David gasp as he looked at the modern, spacious, and comfortable home within. This, of course, is my home, or to be more precise, my old home, and I have lived here rather comfortably for the last 95 years. David drops his bags on the carpet and slumps onto my leather settee. He then turns on the TV and quickly finds a football match to watch. "Oh no you don't, matey, turn that TV off." "Oh what, W, who said that?" says David, who is now standing up and looking frantically for the source of the voice. "I did." David starts to look around my living room, so I hop up onto the coffee table. "On the table, look down, I'm down here." David looks down at me, sitting on the coffee table. "No?" "I'm afraid so, David, and no, you are not losing your marbles." "But you are just a cat." "Newsflash, David, I'm not just a cat, I'm a cat with a human's consciousness in it." David started to shake his head, and for some reason he started nipping his arm. "Stop it, David, you'll hurt yourself." "But this can't be real, Garfield. I'm probably dreaming." "Yes, that's it." Or, "My mind has finally gone and I've become delusional. Oh crap, my mind has gone." I sat patiently whilst he started to panic and pace around my living room. "David, when you are ready to listen and have stopped panicking, wake me up." I stretch a little and then curl up on the radio times. As I lie with my eyes closed, I can hear David still pacing and talking to himself. Finally, I hear, "Ahem, excuse me, Garfield. I've brought you a saucer of milk." I stretch across the table and yawn a little. "Nice gesture, David. But since I became a cat, I've found that I'm lactose intolerant. I wouldn't mind a little water, though." David returned from the kitchen a short while later with a bowl of water that I proceeded to lap at. David had now sat on the sofa and was looking at me intently. I looked up at him. "What?" He smiled. "It's just that I can't believe this is happening. Can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "How are you talking? I can't see your lips moving. Is it some kind of telepathy?" "Magic, it's magic. We have linked minds, so instead of your ears hearing my voice, you are hearing me in your head instead, and now I'm home. If I concentrate really hard, I should be able to project my human form to you too." David gasped, as I projected an image of my old self directly into the visual cortex of his brain. David then quickly turned away and said, "What now? You're naked." "Oops, sorry." I hadn't worn clothing for a while, and had forgotten to project a clothed image, so concentrating a little harder, I said, "How about now?" "Say that." "Oh wow, you're beautiful, but I thought you would look really old." "I am. I just took really good care of myself. I can hear you properly now, too. I can see your mouth moving and everything." I projected myself sitting down opposite him. "David, we need to talk, and I need you to really concentrate on what I'm about to tell you." He nodded. As I was now at my own home, I would be able to hold my image indefinitely, as I was able to focus my mind much better here. Firstly, you are not losing your mind. You are perfectly sane, despite your many years of substance and alcohol abuse. Secondly, I have been tasked with the job of easing your transition. Transition? Yes, David. Transition, you are about to become a witch. A witch? Surely you mean a wizard. I shook my head and tried to explain. No, David, you will become a witch. If you were to become a wizard, things would almost certainly not go too well for you. If I don't understand, how can I become a witch who isn't a witch, customarily a woman? I nodded. Yes, usually, but this is the first time I have heard of an older man to be chosen by the council. They must have a good reason, and I'm not going to argue with them. So this could all be some type of huge clerical error, then? Could be David, but I doubt it. David started to scratch his head. So, how do I go about learning magic, then? Do I need to go to magic school or something? Like Hogwarts, you mean? Well, yes. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, David, but there is no such place. Yours will be on-the-job training, and I am to be your mentor, at least to start with. I will teach you the basics of magic, and make sure that you learn not to draw attention to yourself or your powers. Oh, so I'll be sort of like a sorceress's apprentice then. And how long will my training take? With my guidance, probably about a year or two for the basics, but to master the subject properly, probably 2 or 3. Years? 100 years, young man. Ah, I stopped our conversation there and changed the subject. Oh, and by the way, my name is Diana, so you can stop calling me Garfield. So what now then? Do I get a lesson or something? No, not yet. I think shopping would be in order. We need to stock up the fridge and freezer. Oh, and then you can do a little DIY for me, as I'm going to need a cat flap. David and I went shopping after we'd been to the cash point. On returning, he restocked the fridge and freezer. He then even managed to cook himself a passable evening meal. David slept very well that evening in my bed, with me curled up beside him. And the next morning when he awoke, I'd already made him his breakfast, and was sitting waiting for him as he entered the dining room. How? He asked as he looked at the set table with a full English breakfast sitting in front of him. Magic, of course, I replied. In reality, I'd just manipulated the spaces between objects until I could move them. It took a lot of concentration, but with the added power within the confines of my house, I was able to accomplish it easily. David was looking much better today, and I even detected a little color in his pale complexion. He sat down and seemed to really enjoy his breakfast whilst looking at my image. "You are really beautiful, Diana," he commented. "I was quite pretty, yes, but sadly I'm just an image now." "So can you get your body back then?" "Alas, no, as it was cremated." "So are you stuck as a cat forever?" I smiled. "No, not forever, but the conditions need to be correct for my return. I can't return until the conditions are perfect." David thought for a second, then put down his fork and looked at me angrily. "Oh, I see. It's me, isn't it? You're going to take over my body using some type of black magic ritual and put me into your cat's body." "Oh no, why on earth would I want your body? I want mine back, or as close as I can get." "Oh, sorry, I just thought." He quickly apologized. "I will need to leave this temporary vessel at some point, however, but that will hopefully be sometime in the future. Today we are going to have your first conscious lesson in the art of magic." "Conscious?" "Yes, David. I have already worked with your subconscious, and I have to say it's a lot less argumentative than you. Today you will be aware of everything that happens whilst it happens. Be warned, though it may make you feel a little nauseous at first." David was now wiping his plate clean with a folded slice of bread, as though it were an edible sponge, and not really paying much attention to me anymore. But as soon as he'd finished, I asked him to go and get dressed. It was late morning when we arrived in the park, and David sat down at his usual seat opposite the bowling greens. "Okay then, Diana, what are we doing here?" "Waiting for Emily. You are going to practice magic on her." "What? No, not Emily. Hasn't she suffered enough, Diana?" "Calm down, David. We aren't going to hurt her. Just the opposite, we are helping her." "But how? The damage to her body is irreversible." "To conventional science, yes, but to you and I, no. We have already rectified the genetic defect that caused her illness." "Diana, if that is indeed the case, then her illness has just been stopped. The damage has already been done, and there is no way to regrow motor neurons or to replace the myelin sheath surrounding the nerve cells." "Oh, really? So tell me this. How do these things grow in the first place, then?" "They just do. The mechanisms are not fully understood, but I'm assuming that we are talking stem cells here. Are we, David?" "Yes, but and where are stem cells found?" "Lots of places in the body: blood, bone marrow, brain, liver." Good, the brain, that's handy. So if we were to ask these stem cells really nicely to multiply and replace the damaged motor neurons and other broken stuff in Emily's brain, would that cure her? I just don't know. I mean, even if the damage was repaired, her muscles will have wasted and her bones may have become twisted. She would need months, possibly years of physical therapy to be free of her wheelchair. I brushed against David and sat by his side. "And what would be the alternative for Emily, David?" "To be confined to her wheelchair or bed for the rest of her life would be a horrible existence. She would be better off dead." I looked up to see tears in David's eyes. I'd upset him. I felt a little guilty. "Here comes Emily now with her mum. Should we ask her?" "I suppose. Just act normally, David, and show Emily your usual kindness. I'll lead. A few seconds later, Emily wheeled up to us, and her wheelchair stopped. Hello, David. You are looking much better today, almost handsome with that shaved face and your hair combed. Hello, Mrs. Smart. Hello, Emily, I like your dungarees. Emily seemed a little agitated, so I quickly entered her mind whilst David was talking. Emily, hello, do you remember me? I'm not talking to you, she replied angrily. Oh, why ever not? Because… Are you upset with me, Emily? Yes, I felt really sick after you promised you'd help me. Oh, Emily, I'm sorry, but that was just the nastiness leaving your body. How do you feel today? Okay, I suppose, but I don't want to feel sick again. It was horrible. Oh, come on, Emily, David is with me today. Would you like to talk with him? Suppose. Using my own mind as a conduit, I introduced Emily to David. Oh, hello, can you hear me, Emily? Asked David. Hello, David. Oh gosh, it really works. Hello, Emily, I can hear you. The cat person says that you can help me, David, but I don't believe her. She made me feel ill the other day. Oh, was it really nasty? It was horrible. I felt funny in the head and I thought I was going to throw up. I'm sorry, Emily, but that is called nausea. I didn't like it. I know that it was really unpleasant the other day, Emily, but today may I try something a little different, please? What? As we have stopped your body hurting itself now, I want to try and get it to start repairing itself. Will it make me feel ill again, David? David paused before answering. Emily, I honestly don't know, but I really do want to help you, I promise. Okay, then. Thank you, Emily. You are a really brave girl. David? Yes, Emily. Can you try and make my mouth work first, please? I really miss being able to talk. I'll see what I can do. I stopped our communication with Emily at this point and guided David once more into Emily's weak body. Visualize what you want to happen, David. Concentrate really hard. I'm trying, Diana, but I don't know what I'm looking for. Visualize in your mind that you are ordering cells to repair and replace the damaged nerve cells and instruct them on what to do. I could feel the power of David's thoughts build. Even though I was only being used as a conduit, I could feel the potential in David. Eventually, I sensed movement within Emily as fresh, unallocated stem cells started to reconfigure themselves to their new purpose and slowly headed to the correct destination. Enough, David, we need to leave now and let Emily's body start to recover. Just a little more, Diana. No, leave now! I cut off the connection, and we both returned to the real world. Fortunately, only moments had passed, and Emily's mum was still standing by her, completely unaware of what was happening to her daughter. David, get Emily a flower and try to act normally. I instructed him to do so, and after Emily and her mum had headed off once more towards the library, David ran into the bushes. I could hear him vomiting and retching for several minutes.